Hey guys, I'm back. This time I'm not angry. I'm actually I'm kind of happy. That doesn't, I'm not gonna say it's not something that's happened before after sort of experiencing this, but after watching this video, I kind of see a little bit of a change. I mean, it's kind of not just like a change thing, but I think it's just because the video content, the content in this video is a little bit more different overall. So I think it's definitely why this one comes off as more interesting, or even if not even more interesting, a little bit more genuine. Even if it's not 100% the most genuine thing, it comes off as far more charismatic and overall a better experience as a video as opposed to the last video, in my opinion. And yeah, I guess I'm gonna really go down through this, kind of explaining why I feel this way about specifically this video and why it made me happy as opposed to the last couple of Mrbeast videos that have just been very disappointing. But okay, that's talking too much. I Let me get to the actual reasons why I believe this to be the case. So this video obviously starts off with the very classic thing that Mrbeast does so many times. I mean, at this point, this idea is something he's done like 50 times at this point, which I'm like, okay, that's not that interesting. But, we got to get through it, right? He has people shooting down, guns and shit. And obviously that's like obvious that it's going to survive. But, you're just kind of a little bit like, maybe these like high caliber bullets will actually pierce through. And no, I guess not. So that's I guess that's something that I kind of expected to happen, but at the same time I was like, maybe there's a possibility, because I don't know too much about guns. So I was just thinking that there's a possibility, maybe, if they were using some like super high-tech weapons. But obviously, since I'm not a gun person, I don't know this. So I obviously was kind of still a little bit surprised, but also not, because I was like, they could literally just put a shit ton of random stuff. As long as it's like enough so that it can't penetrate, then it's obviously going to work. So obviously the first one is going to be easy. But that's obviously going to be the case for the first challenge of any video, is that you want to set up increase the stakes overall, which I think is kind of Mrbeast did a pretty decent job with how he set it up. Obviously, the very end with the trains. I think the train thing, as cool and exciting as it sounds, it was, in my opinion, probably the easiest one to defend against, because I was thinking in my mind, what if he just took off the tracks? That's literally like, what is a train gonna do? At that point. Or maybe just derail it, which I think, they end up doing it. A spoiler alert, he ends up winning the challenge, and he derails it. But again, I just thought that the train one was obviously going to be the easiest one. Well, not obviously, but I just, in my mind, I kind of assumed that it was going to be pretty easy to beat. That's just what I thought. But obviously, this didn't get confirmed until the end, so I can't really say that I predicted it. I just kind of had an assumption, I guess. And so, yeah, it was just the concept that I think really gets pulled off so greatly in this video, because I obviously, as we continue on in this video, it ramps up the stakes more. And I think the second thing that he changes to, which is dropping the car from a high place, I just think that's a very interesting change of direction, as opposed to like the first one, where you were trying to get this hard material to sort of survive. Now you got to get something to cushion, so maybe like softer stuff. And I'm just like, that's such an interesting way to set up your challenges. I don't know who told him, like, oh, you got to do a contrast, but like to have someone just kind of completely reverse what they're doing, it's like, that's how you want to do a challenge, in my opinion. Is if you want to follow up from that, is you do the opposite. So now they're like, oh shit, I was ready for this, but now it's like, the opposite of this. So yeah, that was a very interesting development. And throughout this entire time, we already kind of have a history of this person, as Mrbeast kind of explains that this person has been in other videos before too. And I do think it's interesting that Mr. Beast did decide to give this person another chance. Obviously, whatever you want to say about this, I think his commentary in particular was kind of a post sort of. I mean, most of his commentary is post video, right? But I think this one in particular just really shows that he does do these posts because he's like, oh, this is gonna be his last and final chance. Will he be able to beat it? Like, obviously, obviously there's a potential for for him to say that to sort of amp up the stakes. But I think it's an interesting decision to say it like that, to sort of actually not even artificially but just to sort of narrate a potential like problem here, which is this guy has kind of been here a lot of times. He deserves to win at this point, right? So he he has to do something to win. So it adds a little bit more to that satisfaction at the end when he does win the video or the Lamborghini and stuff. So I think overall the narration was pretty good in this video. Despite all my gripes with a lot of his narration, he didn't really spend a lot of time making useless narration. And I think that was the best part of this, was that Mr. Beast didn't really make any narration that felt kind of pointless. Instead, he gave us more like a more in-depth sort of look at what was happening. Obviously, some of the things he said were obvious, and that was a little bit annoying. But at the same time, he was kind of explaining it from a from a perspective, and obviously adding the 3D graphics and stuff, I think also helped. Not just him like explaining it; it was also like illustrated on screen. So it's like it's a double sort of effective way of showing something, right? Is you tell it and then you show an example of what is happening, so you can sort of understand why something bad might be happening. Like especially in the third one where he's throwing the flaming cars and he's explaining how the container is sort of bending itself and potentially it could collapse. And I just thought that was like, damn, I know he's done this before, but because it's done in this video and it's like it's not over the top or anything, there's no explosions, there doesn't need to be that. It's simply just an explanation of something that's happening. It's interesting and it's effective at what it's trying to do, which is explain the situation, the gravity of the situation, I guess. So yeah, I know I'm going all over the place, but that's simply because I'm explaining that his narration in this video isn't really. It usually is a detriment to his videos, but in particular on this one, he did a lot of like. Obviously, he did say a bunch of obvious things, but he did a better job because the narration didn't just feel like hollow or without reason. There was actually an explanation given to it, so it was basically given a purpose, and that's what I think makes effective narration. Is you're trying to get a point across that might be a little bit more difficult to perceive as a viewer, or you might not even know entirely, right? If you're just looking at this, obviously you can maybe make an assumption that the containers were collapsing on the third one, because obviously there's something falling down from the top, and you might make the assumption of that, but it's also like you get to see a visual of it a little bit better. Even though you can see it, it's a little bit more better illustrated, just showing, a simulation of what's happening. So overall, I think that was a very effective way of getting across his point, basically. And so I think the narration in this video is passable, honestly. I didn't think it was bad. Obviously, it's not like insane levels of narration, but it's what I think should be the bare minimum going forward for his narrations. So, yeah, obviously, in my opinion, or not obviously, but in my opinion, the worst part of this video is, funnily enough, I think it was actually Mr. Beast. I know that might sound a little bit, rude to say, but I just felt like he was a little bit annoying at times. But that's kind of like what he's trying to play off as in this video, where it's like he's trying to be like this, the force that's to be reckoned with, because he's brought misfortune upon this person twice, even though he kind of didn't really do that. It's like it's kind of interesting how he like sort of presents himself in this video, and I think it's definitely a little bit annoying, but it's also understandable from that perspective. So in a way, I think Mr. Beast does a good job at sort of it kind of explaining himself in this video, and yeah, I think that was okay. Obviously, that was probably the weakest part, which is Mr. Beast, but again, it's his channel, it's his ideas. Again, it's not as bad as some other videos where I think there was definitely some other big factor that really, sort of annoyed me. But this video kind of didn't have that. In that case, that was the fact that Mr. Beast, usually someone who's the best part of a video, is actually the worst part of the video. That goes to show just how good this video was, right? And so continuing on from that, we get probably another part that I would say is very weak. The Feastables were kind of okay. The Feastables sort of advertisements, ad reads, they were just fine for me in this video. I think sometimes they did get a bit annoying, like when there's this high stakes thing happening, and I'm just like, damn. Can you just shut up about Feastables? I'm trying to watch this here. Let me watch the cars fall on top of this, or let me watch the car fall down from like a giant height. Like, stop talking about Feastables, please. But obviously, he has to talk about it, so it's not that bad. Again, it's passable. It's not to the point where I would say, damn, now I want to buy a Feastables, but it's like, okay. I think actually the best part was when Carl put one of the Feastables onto to one of the barricades to stop the train. I thought that was pretty funny in my opinion. Just like, that's the last piece that we need to protect this. I'm like, that's I'll give you a pass for that, Carl. Mr. Beast, you did a good job having this guy on your team, because sometimes he makes funny shit. It's what some of the other people, some of his other friends did some pretty funny things in this video too, and I thought overall his friends were pretty good in this video too. Obviously, to judge someone's friends on their performance on a video feels very weird, but I kind of just want to say that, in particular, they were very enjoyable. It felt like, they were just there watching the madness unfold, as opposed to other videos where I feel like they just kind of were there. It's actually good. It's actually very, like, if you just give some time to sort of let people just naturally flow in, and sort of give them a chance to shine like that. That's how you get the best performance out of people. And in my opinion, it's what makes a video have interesting stuff like this and not feel so forced. Which, funnily enough, I was literally making a rant earlier about how this other guy was saying the opposite of, basically, this is gonna be a tangent real quick, but some video that I saw earlier was saying how Mr. Beast is taking a step back from overstimulation and sort of focusing more on storylines, and I kind of had a problem with them because the previous video that I obviously didn't really like, he didn't do that, but on this video it seems like I said earlier, he kind of changed slightly. I'm not sure if this was because obviously the circumstances or what you have it, right? Or maybe just the idea in general, the execution of it. But he did a better job in this video with the editing and shit. And I just think maybe he is focusing on that again. And that kind of makes me a little bit hopeful for potentially the future. And so we go on to the final part. Obviously, the most interesting part in my opinion was obviously the guy, which I kind of forgot his name. I wasn't really focused on his. No, it's a Blake. There we go. Fuck. Now I remembered it. I was like, I gotta just use my brain for 2 seconds, and it's like, oh yeah, never mind. It's that easy. So it's Blake, and to think that this guy would actually bring back Mr. Beast from being mid, I guess. Yeah, he kind of carries this entire show with just maybe not even like his charisma or anything, but just his dedication to sort of to doing the job. Basically, I just thought that was interesting. Obviously, there's been other videos where I feel like people have been tested a little bit more, but to see someone finally succeed after losing so many times, it's a classic story of overcoming failure, right? And obviously there's this rule of thirds where it's like, if you lose the first 2 times and then you win the third time, it's very satisfying to see that in any sort of storytelling. So I guess it kind of fits into that narrative, but at the same time it's still interesting to see someone actually succeed after being tried so many times. So yeah, I guess that was cool. Obviously, I did think the challenges were interesting too, and how he presented them in the video were also pretty cool. And again, this video overall has a fine finale that feels kind of satisfying and deserved. And I think that's the best part you can have in a video like this for a challenge video, is having a satisfying conclusion, not having a conclusion that feels kind of forced, or maybe even a little bit lackluster, like I feel like a lot of his other videos have felt. To have a satisfying conclusion to a video, that leaves the viewer with a good sense of feeling, right? You feel better as a person. Seeing someone succeed on something, it's like, wow, I feel like I could succeed, right? And I feel like that's the best part of this entire video, was simply the challenge being challenging, and also not unnecessarily unfair, and also a little bit interesting overall. So what would I rate this video? Maybe like a 7 or a 6. And obviously I know it's kind of harsh to give it a 7, but it's like this is like the best video that I've seen this year from Mrbeast. Obviously, this is still early in the video, it's still early in the year, right? But this is like one of his best videos he's made in a while. And so yeah, that does make me hopeful again. And I obviously, Mrbeast has always released pretty decent videos every now and then, and it seems like they've become sort of a once in a blue moon type of situation nowadays, where it's not every single video that he has is good. And yeah, I don't know if he looked at something that I like, if he looked at the reception of his other videos, but yeah, it seems like if he continues down this path of sort of going for a more personal connection and other stuff like that, he could succeed, and he doesn't need to sort of add all this extra stuff. And if he is gonna add all this extra stuff, to at least make it interesting and feel it basically feel like it's a part of the video, as opposed to sort of random and sort of unnecessary. So again, I think this is how you can improve upon a previous idea, and I think he did a really good job in this video in particular. And so yeah, I'm very, very much happy about this development, and I don't know what else to really say in the future, because I don't know what's gonna happen. I will say one more thing that I just remembered, and that was, I did wish we got a little bit more time with Blake. We did get enough time, but I feel like the only reason why he felt as interesting was because the other videos where he was in, where he had failed, you kind of already had a little bit of him. But I feel like in this video, it would have been nice if we had a little bit more time to sort of get to know this guy a little bit more. Obviously, if you hadn't watched those 2 previous videos, if you just saw this video, all you would know is, oh, he failed 2 times and now he's trying to win again. I just wish we got a little bit more of this other person, and I feel like Mrbeast can definitely work on that in future videos, where he gives these challengers or people in his video a little bit more time to sort of show themselves and their personality, which I think is definitely the most interesting part in watching a challenge video, seeing someone, overcoming some sort of adversity, and kind of understanding their situation, and then, feeling a little bit more connected to them because of that, because they kind of explain where they're coming from, or why they need to win this. It's something just a little bit more to attach yourself to. So I definitely think he can improve on that later on. But again, because we already had all of this, I feel like this video did a good enough job already at giving us enough of this guy. So overall, again, this was a good video. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean by Mrbeast can make good videos. And I don't know if anyone looks at this video and goes and looks at the previous one. They're like, what are you talking about? This is the same exact thing that he did. No, it's completely different. And I will tell you, I will never, go back on my word on that video. That video was garbage. That video was bad. This video was good or passable, if you wanna go like by that metric. It's a good enough video, and I think it's definitely if it's anything, I hope it's a continuation. And like this becomes a new trend, where at least Mr. Beast produces more videos like this, where he spends a little bit more time, sort of cooking it up in the kitchen and making interesting decisions, I guess, or I don't know, spends more time actually focusing on what makes, you know, challenges interesting, which is the personality and the stakes, right? So that's all I gotta say on this video, and I don't know if this comes off as very weird or whatever, but yeah, I don't, like I said before, I don't hate Mr. Beast. It's just whenever he releases bad videos, and it's a really bad video, it just makes me feel so angry and stuff. But obviously, I already talked to someone in the comments about this, and I feel like they made a pretty good point in explaining that, you know, obviously I should have wrote down what I said, and in retrospect, you know, I didn't need to get that angry. But again, I still feel like Mr. Beast could have done a better job in that other video, and I think he definitely improved on this one. Obviously, he can still improve. There's still other things to improve on, but it's like, it seems like this video is I don't know if it's an exception or if it's going to be a sort of trend from now on. And I hope it's a trend. I really hope that this is not an exception, and it instead becomes the norm, following, continuing moving forward, basically. So anyways, that's all I have to say for now. Yeah. Goodbye.